I'm Richard Pyatt. BC City Connection is the podcast from the city of Battle Creek. That's us. And some of our episodes are focused especially on housing. This is one of those as we talk with Habitat for Humanity. Mike King is with us today, who oversees operations for Habitat for Humanity in Battle Creek. And Darcy Schmidt's back with us too from the city of Battle Creek. Welcome to you both.
Good morning.
Mike, we know, and you probably get this a fair amount, right? The idea that Habitat for Humanity is pretty well known. The name is well known. I think to some extent, the concept is well known. President Carter gave it a shot in the arm by having been a volunteer, and that was well publicized. So that probably helps people understand. But tell us anyway, what do you tell people when they say, what does Habitat for Humanity do?
Well, we build housing for people who normally couldn't afford housing. And we also build wheelchair ramps for people that normally couldn't afford a wheelchair ramp. So, yeah, we build our houses at almost half the cost of what a regular contractor would build a house for. And the way we can do that is by utilizing volunteers. We have volunteer groups that come out from various businesses, various service groups throughout the area. Sometimes we even have groups come from as far away as New England and the Chicago area. So,
Oh my.
so it's interesting. But what we do then is we sell our houses at what a family can afford. So we are willing to work with people who normally can't buy a home through a regular mortgage through a bank or a credit union. So what we do is we make it so that they utilize 30% of their income, and that is considered to be affordable. If a person uses 30% of their gross income on housing, that is considered affordable. So we have families take out a loan at 30% of their income or just under 30%. And then the rest of the amount that's needed to pay for the home, Habitat takes out a second mortgage, or a second mortgage is developed through Habitat here at the office. And that portion of the mortgage is not collected until there's a transfer of the property. So it could be 50 years from the date of the sale.
This is an incredible setup, and one for which people must be eligible. How do you determine eligibility?
So at this point, eligibility is for people that are in the 35 to 80% range of the area median income. To the average person, that may not mean a lot to somebody, but basically that's considered the low income bracket of this area. Of course, in maybe in California, the area median income would be, 50% of the area median income might be $100,000. Well, here
Yeah.
it's between $25,000 and $60,000
Okay.
for income, and it's based on what the average is in this area.
So this eligibility thing and the notion of creating an option for folks to be homeowners who might not otherwise qualify in traditional ways. Darcy, this is intriguing and an important part of the possibilities for residents in Battle Creek, right?
Absolutely. We really want to have more people able to own homes so they can build equity in their homes and wealth. It is much better for them than renting, and the money goes away. And as you know, renting can oftentimes be very expensive, and definitely they wouldn't likely be in a situation where they would have affordable housing. This is just one opportunity that is amazing to have here in the city to help someone own a home.
Yeah. So, Mike, talk about how you do it, because we hear right in the news pretty often about the affordability factor and how that's become more difficult. You're talking about the ability to build a home at a fraction of the cost. How do you do that?
Well, we utilize volunteers. We figure for every home that we build, there's around $70,000 of donated volunteer hours into
Wow.
those homes. So we have this group of regular volunteers that work basically Tuesdays, Thursdays, and sometimes Saturdays. And they're just phenomenal people. And by the way, we continue to look for more people to join us on our regular volunteer crew. Just we'll put that plug in there. But so we have those regular volunteers. We also have groups that come out, like I mentioned earlier, groups that come out and help and volunteer for a day or 2 days or so. But then we also get some donated items. We had some land donated in the northwest portion of Battle Creek.
Hmm.
We get a kitchen that is built by the prison system in Michigan, and through a grant that they acquired, they're training prisoners to build kitchens for us, and these are just phenomenal kitchens. These are they would probably run in the $30,000 range
Oh my.
for the cabinets and also the countertops. And then we get some other items donated. U.S. Lumber is a great partner with us to give us lumber at a discounted rate. Knopf Insulation gives us insulation for our attics, so that we can blow our attics full of insulation at about an R60, which is over the code for this area. And so because we figure too that if we save our families money every month in their heating bills, it's just going to be a benefit to them. So
Yeah.
we try to over insulate, and I believe it's to a benefit of our families.
Yeah, this is interesting. I want to linger on the volunteer thing for just a second. So there are folks who commit to you and say, "Look, I'll show up for 2 or 3 days a week and help you build these houses." And do they have to have some kind of experience doing this?
They do not. They do not. In fact, sometimes we actually enjoy teaching people. It actually gives us great pleasure to teach people a new skill, and they go home and they're like, you know what, I learned to do this today. And sometimes it actually is to our benefit if people come with no skills, and we can train them the way that we actually like things to be built. But at the same time, to have skilled people is actually quite a benefit at the same time. But these are phenomenal people. They are regular volunteers. They care about people. They build relationships with the people who are buying the homes,
Hmm.
because the families that are purchasing the Habitat homes, they're required to work on the job site for a certain amount of hours. And so it ends up building relationships, which are just sometimes they're lifelong relationships, and it's really a beautiful thing to see. But yeah, the we believe, now this is undocumented belief here, but we believe that our volunteers live longer because they have a purpose. They are getting physical exercise.
Mm.
They are having community relationships, building strong relationships. And so that's just an undocumented belief that our volunteers live longer and they live fuller and happier lives. There you go.
Community engagement. It's happening.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
You remind me of an old boss of mine who used to like to say, hire for attitude, train for skills.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, right. They would welcome someone who had the right spirit and attitude and hunger for the position and say, we can teach them this.
That's right.
We want a certain person who's ready to do it, and we can work with that. And this is kind of like what you're saying. You've got a clean slate. You can teach somebody how to, I'm simplifying it, swing a hammer or something. But and by the way, I would probably need that training. But you can really set a path for them, and they end up being someone that's connected to this, and you're with them for a long haul.
Some of our volunteers are in their 30 years of volunteering, over 30 years. We have I believe it's 3 or 4 that are over 30 years in volunteering on the Habitat job site. Just
Wow.
phenomenal. It's true. If people they just care about people, care about meeting needs in their neighborhood, in the city here, or in the county. We work all throughout the county, really. But if people care, they'll learn the skills. It's like you're saying, they'll learn the skills, and we're not worried about that. but it's just a great time to work together, really, to meet needs and to better somebody's life, really.
There's been certainly a footprint that you have employed, I'll say, as a typical habitat home, but that's changing, isn't it? There's some a consideration of other kinds of structures like duplexes and townhouses and different kinds of designs. Is that true?
That's very true, Richard. That's very true. We are in the process. It's a slow process. We're looking at the possibility of duplexes or quads, triplexes. We're not quite sure where to go with it, but we're looking into it. One of the things that we really want to meet a need is that we're trying to help people with their generational wealth. The many people know about redlining from years ago, and we see ourselves as being the antidote to that in a certain way, where families that buy a home from Habitat, they're building the wealth for generations through that Habitat home. And one thing I think about, and I will have to do more research, is a quad, is the generational value of that quad, is it worth as much as a single family home like what we're building now? So we've really been building single family homes, and we have plans for at least 10 more in the next couple years, and because we have land for basically for 10 more, or we're in the process of getting land for 10 more homes. And so it looks like they'll be single family homes. But what's the difference? The question we have to answer is, what's the difference between a single family home and the generational wealth that's created with a single family home compared to a quad or a duplex? Is it the same? If it's the same, well, there could be some savings in building duplexes and building multifamily homes. There could be some savings in that. We could reduce our costs even more, but we just want to make sure that the value of those homes through the generations would be the same.
Yeah, I see your point. And for many folks, right, the real estate they buy, that's their long-term investment. And so you want to make sure that this opportunity isn't less so just because the design is different.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah. Darcy, when you listen to all this and you're living the goals of trying to make housing more available, affordable, whatever the perspective is, all of the above in Battle Creek, and you listen to what Habitat's doing, if they see challenges somehow, I assume the city is ready to listen to what those challenges are because you want them to be successful too.
Yes, agreeable. I mean, we have so many partners out there that are working hard to come up with ideas where we can have more generational wealth built with members of the community. And this is one huge piece to the puzzle. And anything the city can do to help. And I think getting the word out is huge. It's only one small thing that we can do. But yeah, I think the city has, through the community development department, worked with Habitat for Humanity more than once. And definitely the planning and zoning, we're here to help advise or do whatever we can to help with the process, whether it's having properties rezoned to what works for the development of the property, or helping to look into some property that might be donated to Habitat for Humanity to help Mike understand how that can be accessed, what the obstacles are with utilities and things like that. So
Got
I
it.
think
Yeah.
I think in any way we can, this is helping our community, and we're there for them.
Mike, you talked about having been granted property on which you could build a habitat home. I mean, how does that typically happen? People just call you up and say, "Hey, I got some land for you." It's probably not that simple, right?
That's how it went here recently.
Okay.
We actually are very appreciative. There was a person that passed away, and they I don't know if they had it in their will that Habitat would get some property, or quite how it came about, but we were just sent a letter, and we were told that we could receive 5 building lots,
Oh my.
and they're right beside each other, and in my eyes, they're a beautiful place to build in the northwest corner there of Urbandale. So that's how it happened. So, you never know. I mean, it's amazing the support that Habitat has from the community is just it's really a beautiful thing. Certainly, this helps us so much because it kind of gives us a path forward for a year or two, a couple years here in the future, just to know where we'll be heading, and we can do some work at gathering some funds for building houses there. So it's just a beautiful thing.
Well, that example is especially terrific, isn't it? It was obviously an expansive piece of land, and you can build multiple homes there. So this person knew what they were up to when they came up with this idea. I imagine sometimes you get land donated, perhaps that maybe is good for a single building. Is that true? And do sometimes you get land that already has a structure on it and you have to decide how to handle that? I mean, this gets a little more complicated sometimes, doesn't it?
This, yeah, you hit it right on the head there. We sometimes get offers of parcels of land or buildings that just don't fit what we can work with. And so, we hate to decline an offer, but sometimes we have to do that. We're better off when we can build in a location where we can build multiple homes at one time
I bet.
in a certain location. So a single lot, although, it can happen where we can build a single home at one spot. We do prefer to build multiple homes at a given location. It just helps with logistics, moving equipment around, tools around. We can have multiple groups of volunteers working, one at one home and one at the home beside that home, and so we do prefer multiple sites at one area, but we're open to whatever comes our way.
Yeah, you'll consider it. Someone's listening to this, Mike, and they're saying, gee, I think I qualify for that. What should they do?
Well, the best place to apply for a Habitat home is to go to our website, habitatbc.org, and there's a tab that speaks of homeownership application. There's a short video that explains the how to apply there. And if they have any trouble, they can just call the Habitat number. It's listed there on the website, or they can do a Google search, Habitat Battle Creek, and give us a call. And we have a gentleman who walks people through the home application process, and we want to make sure that people get a fair shot. It's to us, it's the most amazing deal that a person could want to have help in buying a Habitat home. We walk people through the whole process. Now, granted, they will have to put some sweat in, and also, they'll have to do their part in making sure that they keep walking through the process, keep responding to loan officers, that kind of thing. So it can be difficult. There can be a lot of questions, a lot of fears. But that's why we try to hook every person up with a family partner that will walk them through the process, that can be there at a moment's notice to answer a phone call if they have a question. I believe in the Habitat process. We have multiple families that are applying for homes, and we're at the point where we're not able to keep up quite as much as we had been. So we're hoping that we could, if we could build 8 homes a year, that would be amazing. Right now we're averaging around 4 homes per year.
Hmm.
And so we are getting multiple applications at this time. But if a person is interested in the program, they really should apply and get themselves at least on the list to be available in a year or two for a Habitat home.
Yeah, you anticipated my question. Do you get overwhelmed with applications? Maybe not overwhelmed, but it sounds like there's interest, and that interest builds, which is terrific. Do you help folks understand what it's like, what the responsibilities are as they become homeowners? Now the house is built, they're moved in. Now they have to be maintaining that building. Do you talk to them about that?
We do. We have a maintenance manual, and it talks about replacing the furnace filters, keeping things cleaned, unhooking your hose from the faucet in the fall so it doesn't freeze. So we do go through that. We have a manual we go through. We have it's about a checkup with them after about 30 days that they're in the home. And one of the big things is, well, my receptacles all stopped working. Like, what happened? Well, there's a GFI that somehow got tripped, and it made a certain number of receptacles not work. And so we make sure that we go over that point with them. Like, it's usually just the push of a button. Maybe it could be the breaker in the breaker box that just tripped, and so they just have to flip it. And then we also do a 6-month checkup, and just to make sure that things are going well in the home. Do they have any questions? And we also give a year warranty, so that if anything breaks, or if there's a normal wear and tear or something that maybe wasn't put together quite right, or we give a year, and after a year we go back in and we see if they have any checklist of items that are needing a little bit of repair, a little bit of work. And then after a year, they're pretty much on their own, but we're always available to them. We do like follow-up newsletters too, to our homeowner families, and just reminders like, hey, this is the time of year for filters. This is the time of year to clean your gutters, that kind of thing. So we do our best, and we're growing in that area too, to make sure that people know what's expected and what can go wrong. But we're also there at a moment's notice, if there is something major. And home ownership, it can be scary, if the furnace all of a sudden isn't coming on, like I believe you realized, Richard,
Happened to
and
me.
at
Yep.
Christmas time, that it can happen, and sometimes there's a simple fix, and most times there is on a new home. So we try to be available to help walk through that whole process.
Darcy, do you end up getting, I say you, I mean the community development department, do you meet people who say, I want to be a homeowner, but I don't think I can swing it? And do you say to them, have you talked to Habitat? I mean, you end up being a conduit, don't you?
Well, not necessarily. I'm actually in the planning and zoning department, but I work closely with my colleague, Helen Guzzo, and I'm sure she does on a regular
Yeah.
basis, because they have other programs where, through the community development department, that are working to keep people in their homes. So definitely. And we work closely with other partners that we can hook them up with, get them toward the right people. But we
Well,
definitely, like I said, want to make sure that we can get this information out for Habitat for Humanity and make sure people know what their options are, and working more towards getting people hooked up with the right people.
and I imagine you do. And that's a big part of this process. Before we go, Mike, talk about the volunteers to whom we referred a moment ago. If someone listening wants to be a volunteer, they come with maybe no skills, or maybe some skills, and it doesn't matter. What do they do if they want to be a part of this?
Well, they could also go to our website, habitatbc.org, and they can click on a link that says, I want to volunteer. And they could fill out the information there, and we would get that at the office. Or they could call 269-966-2502 and just let us know that they're interested. And we would just love them, and appreciate that they're willing to give their time and to benefit other people. And we would just have open arms to them. So thank
And
you,
maybe
Richard.
live longer.
And yeah, there you go. The benefits are just amazing. They're just amazing benefits. And there are donuts every once in a while too. Just so we keep
Well,
that in mind.
I guess it
I'm
can't
sure
be
that
every
helps them
time,
live.
but
That helps them live longer too. A good
yeah,
sweet treat once
right.
in a while.
All right. Well, that's the last thing that we'll leave you with. If that helps push you over the edge and you're now a volunteer, great. Mike King, Habitat for Humanity, Battle Creek, thank you. And Darcy Schmidt, City of Battle Creek,
Thank you
thanks for
very
this
much.
Thank you.
update.
Thank you, Richard.